see if that works.
What? Blame it on me. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome. This is the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to everyone who's joining us from home. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Do we have the roll call, please?
Ms. Atkins? Here. Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abalosly?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Gedalia? Here. Mr. Sternad?
Here. Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. So just a little review of our meeting tonight. Because this is a hybrid meeting, we have council members and some staff in the council chambers, and the public is not able to be part of the meeting in the building. We do have the ability to have the public comment by email from home on the public comment sections, as well as the public hearings. And we will proceed with our special agenda this evening. We will be selecting one of the 6 applicants to fill the vacant position on the city council. Would you like to review the procedures for tonight, City Clerk?
Sure. So we've drawn for the order of the presentations. We'll call them in one at a time. They'll have a 5-minute presentation followed by question and answer period. If there's any follow-up questions that the council wants to ask, they could do so. And then once all presentations are done, we will have the vote.
Okay. And the order of the applicants speaking this evening will be Dale Monroe first, and then Phil Seidel and Steve Mosher, Destiny Hastings, Grant Harper, and Mike Kibler. That's the order. And you can go ahead and make the resolution to approve the rules and procedures.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 28445, approving rules and procedures regarding the filling of a city council at large vacancy by appointment.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28445, approving the rules and procedures regarding the filling of a city council at large vacancy by appointment. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Cernat.
Your Honor, could I ask you to just give us the lineup again, please? I
Sure.
was not prepared, and I don't think my material are in order here.
Okay, it's Dale Monroe, Phil Seidel, Steve Mosier, Destiny Hastings, Grant Harper, and Mike Kibble.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? Any other discussions or questions about the rules and procedures? We'll vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 28445, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Ms. Padilla,
Your Honor, I move to receive and file the following applications for council member at large vacancy. Grant Harper at 2522 Vaughn Drive, Destiny Hastings at 1370 44th Street, Unit C, Michael Kibler, 7 Ash Drive, Dale Monroe, 1140 Indian Creek Circle, Stephen Mosier at 1835 39th Street, and Philip Seidel at 3011 Orion Drive Southeast.
Second.
it has been moved and seconded to receive and file the applications for council member at large vacancy. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion has been approved. We will now move on to the presentations by the individual candidates. Welcome. Yes. Please come to the podium, speak into the mic, and you're welcome to proceed whenever you're ready.
Mayor Oblosky, council members, thank you for the opportunity to share my skills and give you my consideration, or give consideration to me for my request to be appointed to the Marion City Council. My letter of interest highlights my proven strengths, and so I won't be reviewing those. As you can see by my resume, though, I have had 40+ years of executive leadership roles, not only in the work that I've done, but in voluntary service, in multiple community boards, and particularly want to highlight those boards that they elected me to provide leadership in the form of the chair or chairperson. My commitment to Marion and its successful growth and development changes that matter is evidenced by the body of work that you see in that resume. Want to reiterate, none of this, absolutely none of this was done by me alone. Team was the key. Inviting many voices to the table, being open to new ideas and new thinking allowed us to meet our community's needs. I would highlight experience in strategic planning in a fast-growing community school district that I worked in. It had many challenges to budget, bonding, and meaningful planned growth initiatives. I've been a part of that in the planning and been trained in continuous improvement as a result of my role in the Iowa Quality Center. I believe that would provide you an opportunity to use a skill set that I'm familiar with and that I've proven in multiple organizations. Also, when I looked at and watched your presentation regarding your capital improvement planning, I was very impressed with the alignment with the funding and the projects to successfully complete them on time and on budget, like Tower Terrace, the library, 7th Avenue Corridor Project, and regional planning. It's exemplary. I've had that same experience on the boards and the school districts that I've worked with, and I believe I'd be a compliment for the work that you've already done. Participation in the community as a whole. I'm in love with the community. I've been involved in many fundraising efforts, Lau Park, the library, Swamp Fox activities, Marion Arts Festival. I participated in the Blue Zones, Imagine 8, the original, the community events that I mentioned, and then I'm currently on planning and zoning commission, and I'm a chamber member and try to keep active through that. So currently the dilemma that we're facing as a city council is reduced revenues. I was impressed with Lon's presentation of the one of the pages in the budget that talked about the three things: the hotel, the road tax, and road use tax, and the let's see, what was the other one? SAVE, and how we would not necessarily be impacted now, but long haul, we would be. And so that we need to make some decisions on how to continue to align, keep our ability aligned with priorities through those multiple funding streams. Future challenges that I'm aware of are facing the city: the landfill, airport design and advancement, funding for the Tower Terrace Bridge, getting an accurate census, I think is critical, and then the thoughtful development of the growth corridors that that surround us and that Marion is a key piece of. Collaboration is a key to that success, and I believe I have proven record. Just for the record, about 1 year ago, I started my conversation with a team of people in the community regarding my potential election campaign that I would have run last year. In my conversations with that and with my respect that I had for Paul Draper and his passion for Marion caused me to wait for his commitment to determine whether or not I would run. Once he made his commitment to be reelected, I decided to support his campaign and not run. I'm not telling you that because of Paul's passing. I'm just telling you that because I had a commitment made, but I also have respect for the leadership that's here. I'm seeking to faithfully fill the position until November 21st. Election as you've directed, but be reassured, I will be running for the re-election to fill out the entire term, should you choose me. It is respect that I request full consideration of my application for this appointment. I look forward to the opportunity to continue to listen, learn, and lead in the city of Marion. Can I answer questions for you?
We have some standard questions that will be asked, and then council members may have follow-up questions to those.
Sure.
Okay, so the city clerk will ask the questions.
Do you plan on running for this position at the next city election?
I absolutely will run for this position at the next city election.
Do you have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from voting?
None that I'm aware of.
What is your volunteer history?
My volunteer history is in lots of not-for-profits, all the way from the Marion Arts Festival, the Swamp Fox. I've been involved with let me think. I'm gonna look back at all the things that I've done. Just give me 1 second and I'll answer it correctly. The YMCA, I've been involved with their board, the Marion Library Board, Blue Zones, as I mentioned. Currently in planning and zoning. I was on the Alternative Services Board. I have been involved with Junior Achievement and chair of the Marion Chamber and chair of Metville as well. That's enough.
What do you like most about Marion?
What do I like
The most, yep.
the most? Well, for 40 years, I've always thought it was a great place to work, live, play, and raise a family. That's the best thing about Marion, and it continues to improve every day.
What do you see as challenges for Marion?
Well, excuse me. Some of them that I mentioned earlier are all the way from, number one, I think a key for us as a growing city is to get our census numbers right. And I know we've had people out doing that electronically, and it seems like it's improving. I think the second part is to face the challenges of what we're going to do with the landfill and how we're going to proceed with that. The second piece is the airport and making that a viable airport for the businesses that we support out in the economic zone. I think the other part is we've got a lot of development that's going on, and how do we keep ahead of the curve in the development of our community in a viable way, so we don't create pockets of emptiness and have streets that don't go anywhere and a viable transportation system. I think there are many other things that are going to come up, some that I'm familiar with, some that I'm not. I'm willing to take those challenges. The library would be a challenge as well. It's a very good opportunity. I was on that board as well.
Some current legacy city projects include the new fire station, public works facility, library, and the community YMCA. Based on the trajectory of our growth and city needs, what do you envision the next legacy project to be and why?
Oh. Well, I know that in the presentations that I've been involved with this group, as well as conversations I've had with community people, it seems our growth is going to cause us to take a look at another fire station or another unit someplace as we go forward. I think the city's going to have to take a good look at its economic development, where we want businesses to locate, and keep that going. That'll be a challenge for us. I think the last planning and zoning adoption that we made is going to provide us the guidance to do that. I think those things would be key for us.
Council discussion often gets filtered through each council person's unique background and experiences, including insurance, real estate, legal, finance, and education. If appointed, what unique lens will you see things through that would help diversify and strengthen our deliberations?
I've always kind of described my leadership style as eclectic. And the reason I say that is because I've had multiple experiences all the way from education to having an equity in a business that I participated in, software development. I've been in business development at Kirkwood Community College. I've been involved as a superintendent, a principal, assistant principal. So my lens is going to be, and I'll use kids, but I really mean community members, what's best for community members. That's going to be my lens because of all the service that I provided in my lifetime.
Okay, so we have time for follow-up questions. So on that same note, so you said your lens is what's best for community members. Obviously, with 40,000 people, you can't please everybody. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on that of how you would go, how do you go about making decisions that you're confident are the right decisions?
Yeah, I'm a pretty good listener, and I'm a believer in making myself accessible to the people that might be impacted by any one of the decisions that we might have to make. And I've had several, I'm calling advisory committees that I've had operating. I'm not suggesting we all have to do that, but just like advisory committees work, you have people that you would go to in a community of this size, and you would trust their opinions, and then you use that to filter out, here's the facts of the matter, here's the benefits to the majority of our folks, and that's how I would.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dale.
Thank you very much.
Have Mr. Seidel come in. Hi, Phil. Welcome.
There's some people here somewhere, but I'm no celebrity, so. I'll just go ahead and start.
Please go ahead and proceed
All
with your presentation. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And
Would you mind speaking into the microphone more directly because this is recorded and there are people listening at home?
Okay. I'll do that. I don't want to get anything on the microphone either. I'm kind of sensitive to that because there have been times when I've used microphones when you know that people have to really lean in and to make themselves heard. And when I came to this community, I was a kid. And when I say this community, I'm kind of expanding a little bit because that was in 1966. My folks were building their first house here in Bowman Woods, which is just, of course, outside of the limits. But the people that I knew growing up were people from Marion. The people that I ended up going to grade school with were kind of mostly kids from the northeast side, but by the time I got to Regis, I was mixing in with kids from Marion, and Marion became part of my stomping grounds when I was a youth. I ran away from the community to go to Omaha, and that was where I had grown up before coming to Cedar Rapids, and continued in my education, met my wife, and we returned here because this is a great place to raise a family. Now my folks, they built that house in Bowman Woods. They were involved in the construction of it. They knew what the needs were. They made the plans. They worked well with the contractor, Skogman, of course, but they had particular modifications that had to be made as far as what they were expecting of a house. And over the course of time, they treated it the way that you should, that you treat your house. You build it. It's your house. You're responsible for it. And that's the way that pretty much that things run in every neck of the woods. This is a beautiful community. but in its own way, it's comparable to a house. Marion is a special house. It houses a lot of people from various and sundry socioeconomic strata, and it needs to have room for everybody. And that's something that over the course of time, as I became more and more involved in different aspects of our community, that have made a really big impression on me. That it's our house. We live here. We be responsible for it. We find ways that we can contribute to it, because if the house falls apart, even if it's just the part that somebody else is living in and calls their room, you don't have a cohesive community. You don't have a thriving community. You don't have a community that is going to be entice others to come and to be part of it. And you want to be able to inspire people in that regard. Over the course of my time, I've gotten involved in, as an attorney, of course, in a lot of individual squabbles, dealing with lawsuits as far as boundary disputes, as far as personal injury. Over the course of time, I became an attorney with Farm Credit. I learned something extremely important when I was working for Farm Credit during the farm crisis, and that was, you've got to deal with people with respect. You cannot talk down to them or up to them. You have to talk to them, and you have to listen to them. I learned about mediation during that time, and that was something that I thought this was the dumbest thing I had ever heard. This is 1986, when they passed a law with regard to the requirement for mediation when people were doing farm foreclosures. And I thought it was just crazy. You've got people who have defaulted. You need to be able to go ahead and clear things out. Well, I learned an awful lot. I learned, again, that respect. And I learned that you get results when you have people at a table and they talk and you communicate. And I'm just going to make a little side note here, and I know that it's something which is on your agenda. I was listening. I was involved in that Zoom meeting that we had on Tuesday, and just one small thing, but it's extremely important. Like you were telling me in the beginning, you got to get close to this mic, and you got to be able to be heard. And hopefully we all have good mics, not only literally as far as being able to communicate with the community out there, because if they're listening on Zoom, they may hear a lot of this mechanical background. But we also have to have good mics and good listening apparatus to make sure that we are hearing what people say and that we do give them the respect and the attention that is important, because we may miss out on something, and that's something that I hate to do. I hate to be missing out on anything as far as this community is concerned. I became involved in Kiwanis. I was one of the founding members of the Marion Metro Kiwanis Club, which we developed that Marion Barbecue Rendezvous, which will not happen this year. We're going to have it postponed till next year, as the case is going. But it was important to us to do something which was in our community and benefited the community. And so our benefit was initially with the Marion Parks Department. We collaborated with Rich Fox in order to develop some basketball / skating pad over at Thomas Park, and then a trail over in Hanna Park with some exercise equipment and such. And then we moved on to working with the Miracle Field out there. And again, it's not just one person. It's not just me that's doing that. That's part of that second area of it, and that is making sure that I'm collaborating with people and I'm listening to ideas and I'm participating and I'm not shutting people down. And that's pretty much the way that my involvement with planning and zoning started me in even deeper in the community. I had been involved with the Chamber of Commerce for a period of time. I was involved in assisting with the grand opening of the bypass when the bypass was put in. I participated with planning and zoning in one of the railroad right-of-way projects, and I know that there were some other ones that I didn't even bother to list, but I've been reaching out and participating in these things because I know how important it is that this house that we have here, you don't just build it and let it go. you keep on looking for ways to improve it. And I've been totally impressed by the way that planning and zoning has been really pushing us on standards and making sure that this community is going to look good, it's going to be attractive, and it's going to be functional. And it's not going to be exclusionary, but it is going to be thoughtful in the way that it is making its development felt. The efforts which Kesha has been involved in with regard to trails. I will skip ahead a little bit. I mean, when you're talking about a legacy project, to me, I think in terms of some of the outdoor things that we can do and how we can make this the greatest bikeable, walkable community in Lynn County or maybe even the state. I absolutely love that, and I think that it's something which is important, and the efforts that she is undertaking with regard to developing the trails into Marion, and to the extent that we can go beyond that, I think that's phenomenal, and that's something which should really be continue to be pursued. And I've picked up on some things. I've worked with the Marion Senior Living. I've been involved with them. I was brought in kind of as a default member when a previous attorney was not able to serve any longer or did not wish to serve. And that was absolutely inspiring. There are members of our community that I had never even met or thought of. They are not people who have high position. They are women who, out of the 12 or 13 churches in the beginning when this project of the Marion Senior Living was developed, they got together and against all odds, they pushed and built 3 wonderful facilities out there on Highway 13, which are a credit to our community and to its inclusiveness. Those are the kinds of things that I see here in Marion that really inspire me. It's the people, it's the standards that we set, it's the inclusiveness that we have, it's the desire to build on what we have, to maintain the good things that we do have and improve upon them. Those are the things that make me want to be a part of Marion City Council. That's my motivation. The only other thing that I have to offer is that I stick through on things. I've been 20 years on planning and zoning. I've been 20 years with Marion churches. I've been 20 years with Marion Metro Kiwanis. My wife and I have been married 42 years. So we have, maybe, we have a little bit of a commitment there. And we are probably the southernmost outpost of this community and have been holding off the barbarians for our community down on Orion Drive since 1981. So I'm hopeful that I get a little bit of credit as far as that's concerned, or at least that my wife and I do get some credit for that. So in closing, I'll just say, it's our house. I want to be a part of that vision that builds that house bigger, makes it more inclusive, perfects what we can perfect, maintains all the good things that we have, and sees it through so that it prospers and that our children will want to come back here and stay.
Thank you. Would you proceed with the questions? Thank you.
Do you plan on running for this position at the next city election?
Yes.
Do you have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from voting?
None that I can think of.
What is your volunteer history?
I started young. I was involved in doing volunteer work in college. I'm trying to think what I had worked on that one. I know that it was actually my volunteer activity was probably even with the Boy Scouts. I would go out and I would be involved in the food drives and things along those lines. Volunteer activity though, since coming here, I've been a volunteer in my parish, St. Matthew's Parish in Cedar Rapids. I have participated, of course, with regard to the Salvation Army. I've been on their board. Also, another board that I've been on. Actually, I was honored with becoming a life member with the Salvation Army. But I've been involved in their bell ringing campaigns, working on strategic planning, working on different projects. Most recently, they've been doing some, they have got some properties which they are building, they're going to be building a food storage facility on. Yeah, I mean, it kind of just goes from there. Alzheimer's, telethons and things like that. I mean, just too many to mention.
What do you like most about Marion?
I like the people. I always find that whenever I visit with somebody from Marion, that the commonality of our community is a real bond.
What do you see as challenges for Marion?
I would say to keep ahead of where we are and not to be disappointed with any stumbling blocks in the road. I mean, I know, for instance, that, and by that I'm talking about, for instance, we've been working with the library project for some time, and it's something nobody should really get dispirited over that. There have been some I guess hitches on that one, but to have a clear vision for the future and to move on is the important thing.
Some current legacy city projects include the new fire station, public works facility, library, and the community YMCA. Based on the trajectory of our growth and city needs, what do you envision the next legacy project to be?
And yeah, it would be trails.
Council discussion often gets filtered through each council person's unique background and experiences, including the world of insurance, real estate, legal, finance, and education. If appointed, what unique lens will you see things through that would help diversify and strengthen our deliberations?
I believe it will be first from the forcing myself over the course of time and learning to be very respectful as possible of other people, and to make sure that I'm not the only one talking and that I'm listening. And that's part of what I do as a mediator. That's actually the most important thing that I do as a mediator, and try to resolve disputes through making sure that people understand each other, because it's too often when we don't understand that small matters become big matters and big matters become tragedy.
Okay, any follow-up questions from Mr. Seidel? I'll ask you my same follow-up question that I asked Mr. Monroe. It's, how do you make decisions then to make sure that they're sound decisions and in the best interest of the community?
I try to understand each person's position. I think, and when I say that, I think of one particular instance in front of planning and zoning, which was very trying, and which I think we came up with a successful resolution. It may not have been perfect, but it was up on the on Tower Terrace, and there was a dispute south of Tower Terrace. There was commercial development being proposed. There were people that were residential that were around that development to the south and to the north that had concerns and reservations about the traffic, about safety, about noise, and also about the commercial. We were able to work out kind of a hybrid solution, which reduced, to the best of my recollection anyway, reduced a particular commercial development to a little bit further, to more to the south of the roadway there, and it seemed to make some sense to the people there. And so it was after doing that and seeing where we could get some common ground anyway, that I was able to make a decision and to make that proposal, and then to go forward with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll have Mr. Mosher come in. Welcome. Sure, just make sure you speak into the mic and so that people at home can hear you. Okay, thank you. You can go ahead with your presentation when you're ready.
Well, I'd like to start out thanking the mayor and the city council for this opportunity. It is a special moment to, at any time, to fill a vacancy. And I appreciate at least the journey that I'm going through in understanding the process and being able to relate to what you are going through. And I know that several of you have already gone through this process yourself and show an appreciation for what we all are experiencing. If you can't tell, I'm a little nervous in leading this discussion. And I've only been this nervous probably twice in my life, and that was the first time, obviously, in going through the marriage procedure with my wife some almost 30 years ago. And then the other one when I played my first collegiate soccer match back when I was in college. I'd never played soccer before. And within only a week practice, I did end up playing most of the game, but after that, I started every game after that. So in the nature of telling you that is, I'm a quick learner, quick study. I have certain abilities that I know that I can adapt and forward in being able to make things happen. I've given you a list of all the things of the committees and organizations that I had belonged to over the period of time that I've been in the Cedar Rapids, Marion area, which has been a while. I'm from out east. I originally came out here to go to college, and I ended up staying. I married a woman who grew up on a farm. We had 2 kids. We live currently here in Marion for current house for the last 20 years. And then in the Bowman Woods area for almost 10 years there. So there are certain things that that have happened, that have taken place, and I'd like to at least tell you why I'm doing this. When I first started with these, I should go back, when I first started with Lynn County, and I also worked for the city of Cedar Rapids, I was laying the groundwork to eventually that I was going to run for office. So I ended up back in the 90s, I ended up running for Board of Supervisors. It came out in a primary. There were 5 of us. One of them was a former board member who had good name recognition. So I didn't fare that well in the primary, but I did learn a lesson though. Name recognition is an important thing. So then I thought about it again for here. I looked at it at a time when Ward 2 was up for election, and I considered that as a possibility. Then I had been told by an individual that, well, we've got a couple of good candidates that are running, and maybe you may want to rethink that, or think about something a little bit more out in the future. So then we came up with the position that we're currently with now, and I thought about running then, but Paul had sort of was a little hesitant about if he was running or not running. Again, an incumbent, name recognition. I learned a lesson some time back, didn't think that that was the way to go. And as you can tell from the way things ended up, he did win the race, and unfortunately, things happened the way they did, and then we have this vacancy. But most of the things that I've done have all been predicated on the fact of running for a position, be it at the supervisor's level or at the council level. My wife had come up with a suggestion, is that maybe we should move to a smaller town, because you always hear in the media they can't find people to run. She said, if that's your dream and that's your goal, we'll move and we can make that happen. Well, that wasn't my objective there, is that I didn't want to have to move in order for it to happen. I wanted to be part of where I was at. Now, the reason that attracts me to Marion is that some time back, when I first learned about Marion after being here, it was very similar to my hometown in New York. Roughly about that 20 to 25,000 people. Now, my hometown became a city back in the early 1900s, so, okay, in New York. So just about 20 miles north of New York City on the Hudson. It's called Peekskill. So from there, I'm looking, okay, this seems to be like what I grew up in. And I was pleased with that aspect. Very comfortable with it. So I've stayed here, tried to make the most of it. I didn't find a lot of opportunities that I would be comfortable with. So I did a lot of work obviously in Cedar Rapids, and I work now in Hiawatha. But I was still trying to understand, what is the business in the direction that Marion has? What are you attracting as far as businesses, the diversity of businesses, and in order to diversify your tax base and being able to deal with, obviously, revenue in order to operate on that. And so I don't see a lot of large companies, but what I see is a lot of mid-range and small businesses coming and growing and developing in this area. So it makes it a very comfortable and a very attractive area to bring in your family, raise a family, bring your business in, and impact the diversity that's you're attracting. Now, I also, and some of you remember, that I was on the Marion Civil Rights Commission, the initial individual chairman of the commission. Now, that was one of our procedures. What else can we do to help the council to show that we are still trying to diversify and attract? You need people. Diversity in your population attracts businesses as well, because they're recruiting all over, and they like to see that and where things are. So I looked at that as another possibility, at least in envisioning, being welcoming, inclusive, and preserving the personal dignity of all people who live here and do business here. So part of that is pretty important. Now, I'm still in a position, and hopefully I'm leaning close enough for the mic, different people are hearing me. So what I see here is something that I saw on the Zoom on Tuesday that I was very pleased to see and hear. When we're talking about the virus, you guys are talking about not the virus itself, but how do we come out of the virus and the interaction? How does that impact your budgets, your projects? So this is a lot of forward thinking, because you've made a lot of progress in growing Marion, but now you're talking about how do we sustain and then move forward and still keep that light shining in the window to attract businesses and people. And I noticed that during the conversation, and I don't know for sure which one. I know it was one of the women on the council that was a little hesitant about the project. But the nature of a 5-year capital project or whatever is that you have stages that you go through. You haven't turned the shovel of dirt, but there's still things to do and still question, and you still have to do that. That's important. So you guys are stewards of what we're doing here, and you're doing a very good job. I see nothing wrong with that, and that's why I said in my resume area that I didn't have an axe to grind. I don't see anything that I would feel that you should be criticized for, or because anybody can criticize. But the question is, do you step up and willing to roll up your sleeves and get involved? That's what I'm here today to do. Now, I volunteered in a lot of different groups. I'm currently in Four Oaks Regional Board. I just had a meeting today. I'm on the subcommittee for the finance. I'm also on the executive committee of the NAACP. I'm also with Jane Boyd. But as you can tell, a lot of these are not in Marion. There really is not a lot of opportunity for me. Not that I'm not looking for it, I am. But I'm not seeing that, and I have heard from the folks that, the two that went ahead of me, they are involved in a lot of things. I don't have those opportunities. I have to get into and leave Marion and get into Cedar Rapids. And I don't know why, other than the fact that maybe that's just not available. We have different interests. So what I did see, another thing besides that, I finally had a chance to see in the library that we're now thinking about a different philosophy as far as the library. And it's not, it's what the library has to offer. We've all been, since yay high going to the library, you know, through transition, libraries develop. It's a living organism that will constantly develop and reshape itself the way we learn. I heard from the other day from the library, and I thought, that's what I've been hoping I would hear, is the thought process they're doing now. Let's build it. Because they finally have turned the page to really think in the future about what that library is going to be. Because when I was with the county, the old library, before the one you have now, we were giving money to the library then. I was in and out of that building, pretty cramped, needed a lot of things. Then we got to this library over here, and then we thought about, okay, let's make this so that it can grow. Well, that's not the area you need to look at, it's the library itself. So the concept has grown, so I've seen that. And then the other part I liked that I saw was trails. I know that's been brought up, but I enjoy hiking and I enjoy riding my bike. My wife loves to do that too. And we know a lot of people out there that are all doing that. But coupled with that, you need to also look at the aging of your population and what are you doing for that. They like hiking, they like trails. They also like to have residential services as well. This is a very good community. It's not the hustle and bustle and worried about as Cedar Rapids is. This is pretty good. It's pretty good living. And for that, we're still here. We'll continue to be here, and we enjoy what we're doing. I don't like to work from home, I'll tell you that. I enjoy getting out, but since March, since we've had this, I've had to deal with that. And it's a big adjustment for me to do that. So I know that I've kind of not given you a lot of specifics and a lot of general things, but I feel that there's not a lot of difference between myself and what you guys are doing today. I mean, could I slip in? Could I visually see myself slipping in here? Yes, I could. Very easy. You all seem to be on the path, the right things, that I don't see anything that's objectionable. But to get there is tough. And I know that that's the easiest thing is to run for office, get elected, and you're there. The hardest thing is to come in and present yourself. I'm not real good at selling myself at that. It generally is the proof's in the pudding. If I'm there and I'm doing it well, I'm doing an exceptional job. But for me to tell you that I'm the person is real hard to do. So with that, I'm gonna wrap up what I had to say because the information is in the document that I gave you. All the different things that I've tried to do, the leadership roles, the jobs that I've worked, it's all there. And can I help you? Yes, I can. I'm confident enough to know that if selected, I can do an exceptionally good job and be a teammate and achieve the goals that you guys are setting out here to do in your strategic planning, your long-term vision. If given the opportunity, I think I would fare well. That's all I have.
Thank you. We'll proceed with the questions.
Do you plan on running for this position at the next city election?
Well, that's a tough question, and I know that you'll probably hear a lot of yeses, and I'm going to say I don't know. I'm going to say that it's an adventure. There's a lot to look at that we're gonna have this virus thing and the budgetary thing. It could be very draining. And it could cause in the area of in 3 years to think, for me to rethink that. But given the opportunity, I probably would consider it seriously. Short, long answer, yeah.
Do you
Okay.
have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from voting?
As of today, none. I have no conflicts of any sort that I'm aware of.
What is your volunteer history?
My volunteer history has been, I volunteered either with obviously groups that don't have a voice, that seem to be disenfranchised. I've worked in, currently, obviously with Jane Boyd, Four Oaks. I've done tax preparation for United Way and those folks who have low income. I've even volunteered as coaching, whether it was basketball, soccer, or whatever. And so if there's an opportunity, I'll volunteer for it.
What do you like most about Marion?
Marion is a unique town. When I first came out here, didn't know much about Marion, didn't travel into Marion, stayed more in the Cedar Rapids area and Iowa City area. Marion grows on you. You think that you know Marion, but you can all of a sudden go down a street, go into a neighborhood, and you're like, well, when did that happen? Where did that come from? Who are those people? And you don't realize it until you've had that exchange. But there's a lot of good things and a lot of eye-opening things that are very welcoming and very enjoyable.
What do you see as challenges for Marion?
Two things that I see as a challenge, or maybe three. One of those obviously is the tax base and allowing it to diversify enough so that you're not relying solely on residential property tax. But I think that you need businesses that you need to recruit to grow your base. I think also as far as senior living and opportunity, and then obviously the trails and hiking scenarios.
Some current legacy city projects include the new fire station, public works facility, library, and the community YMCA. Based on the trajectory of our growth and city needs, what do you envision the next legacy project to be and why?
That's a good question. Excuse me. What I consider, I have to think that one through. Can I come back to that question?
Sure.
I want to think about that a little bit.
Council discussion often gets filtered through each council person's unique background and experiences, including insurance, real estate, legal, finance, and education. If appointed, what unique lens will you see things through that would help diversify and strengthen our deliberations?
The lens that I would see, I'm pretty much been all over the place. I've been an arbitrator. I've been an advocate. But what really it comes down to is the ability to listen and comprehend what is being discussed. What are the objectives of the individual giving you telling you their story? Because a lot of times they just want to be heard. So being a good listener is that, but I think it's education. In education, it has many different phases, but I think that would be the objective, is educating people on what Marion offers.
The previous question, what do you envision the next legacy project to be and why?
Currently, right now, and I do appreciate this other, but the public grounds, the parks that you guys are in charge of, and obviously Parks and Recreation carries out that directive, but you have quite a good offering, could be expanded a little bit. I'm a pickleball fan, and I'd like to see that grow a little bit more, but that's a personal preference. But I still go back to, and I like some of the trails, and I've seen what being proposed, and I read in the messenger what's going on, and it's hard for me to bypass that because that seems to connect the dots in everything. Because when you give folks the recreational, the leisure activities, all else will fall into place. I think that that's the important thing. And that doesn't stop just by one calendar year or one strategic plan.
I'll ask you the same question as the other candidates. How do you approach decision-making to make sure they're sound, your decisions are sound and in the best interest of the greater good?
Well, the first thing, if given the opportunity, I would obviously listen to what the discussion is, and I would also do a little research on my own. You don't make decisions in a vacuum. What you have to do is at least understand what you're being told and turn off the filter in your head that says that I already know the answer. Okay, you need to be receptive to what's being discussed, to ask the right questions, and then understand what is it that they want. And I think that's part of it, and it's an all thing, but you have to be a good listener, good communicator.
Any other questions, follow-up questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. And I know it's not an easy decision for you guys, so good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have Ms. Hastings come in. Welcome. Yes, I know. Okay, when you're ready, proceed.
Ready, okay. Hello, Mayor and council members. It's good to see you, especially after the last several weeks. I'm honored to be here. It's exciting to live in Marion, where I have opportunities like this to leverage my community engagement experience and help the city continue the remarkable progress it's made. People have often urged me to run for office over the years, and their reasons for that have included my passion for, involvement with, and connection to the community, as well as my proven track record of accomplishments. Given their urging and support, I decided to take this first step to public office. In high school, I was voted most likely to enter politics, so here I am. It sounds simple, but people saw it in me then, people see it in me now, and I see it in myself. Running for a council seat was something I thought I would do in a few years. I'd have the discovery conversations, ask the questions, learn about the process, and have it all meticulously planned. With the proverbial dominoes in place, I would wait for that perfect time to tip the first one over, setting off that chain reaction, landing with an election night party. And I assume that's how you all did it, right? Turns out life isn't always how you planned it, but when life throws you a curve, you make lemonade. And there's no perfect time, but I would be remiss if I did not step up and meet this opportunity. One of the many great things about Marion is how easy it is to get connected and get involved. More than 3.5 years ago, I became a resident of Marion for the second time. I quickly rolled up my sleeves and got to work as a community volunteer, primarily with the Uptown District, where I've served on the board of advisors and the organization committee. I also volunteer at farmers markets, the fall festival, and other events that highlight all Marion has to offer for its residents and visitors. My extensive volunteerism demonstrates my commitment to giving back to the community that has given so much to me. I've long valued contributing by serving on boards and committees, and that has taught me that great things happen when individuals come together and work collectively as a team. 2020 was supposed to be my community engagement gap year. I stepped back from volunteer commitments to evaluate where my time and resources were going. Well, that lasted about 10 weeks. This opportunity presented itself, and here I am. But everything happens for a reason, and I firmly believe that removing other things from my life has made room for this and led me here. There are many skills and attributes from my professional career that lend themselves well to a council position. I've held public-facing roles where I've successfully collaborated with individuals from all walks of life. I'm no stranger to navigating the complexities of regulatory compliance and holding myself to a high ethical standard. I've created and managed multi-million-dollar budgets and made those tough decisions that come along with having fiscal responsibility. I've made tough decisions with respect to staffing, compensation, and other employment-related matters. I didn't grow up here in Marion. I haven't lived here for an extended period of time. But being newer means I don't come with preconceived notions. And I'm not married to, this is how we've always done it. It doesn't mean I'm less invested. I'm invested in Marion because it's where I've chosen to make my home. Most of my family lives here. I have 6 cousins in the Linn-Mar School District, and I love going to all of their activities. Another relative and her husband own a business here. My family proudly participates in the military banner program, and last summer, my grandfather's banner hung right here on this corner. We were so thrilled to have a special way to honor him. Marion means something to us. Marion means something to me. I bring some unique perspectives to council. As a young single woman, I have a drive and interest to engage with the community that is focused on reaching higher. Networked to a variety of groups, my connections help me see the strategic importance of the growth of Marion. As a mentor and friend to other women, I recognize the importance and value of having varied voices at the table. When deciding to move forward in pursuing a council seat, I knew I had to find my why. Why do I want to do this? The simple answer, I love Marion. I love everything about it. The people, the progress, and the passion to continue to grow. Great things are happening here. You see, you can teach city codes and ordinances, but you can't teach heart and you can't teach passion. And those are things I bring to the table right now. I'm ready to serve. And while I can't fill Councilman Draper's shoes, I do hope to walk in his footsteps as a champion of the city, dedicated to serving and contributing to its prosperity. I've given you a lot to consider tonight, but if you remember only one thing, please remember that from the bottom of my heart, I want this. Thank you so much for the time and opportunity to be considered for this position, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you.
Do you plan on running for this position at the next city election?
That's the plan.
Do you have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from voting?
Not to my knowledge.
What is your volunteer history?
Well, again, here in Marion, primarily with the Uptown District, but I have volunteered with United Way, Impact CR, Professional Women's Network, and in 2018, Wright Elementary named me their Building Volunteer of the Year.
What do you like most about Marion?
That's tough to pick one thing that you like the most, but I would have to say just the variety of things that you can do here.
What do you see as challenges for Marion?
Marion has grown significantly and quickly, and I think that one of the biggest challenges is really to have the infrastructure be able to keep up with it. You know, do we have the right staffing ratios to support citizens? Do we have the right services? Do we have enough equipment, you know, to keep snowplows and things like that, to keep our streets safe? You know, thinking about the strategic growth plan, you know, what's our ratio to residents versus businesses? And what does that look like? And how do we make things equitable for all citizens, and especially to some of the lower income groups that often go unseen?
Some current legacy city projects include the new fire station, public works facility, library, and the community YMCA. Based on the trajectory of our growth and city needs, what do you envision the next legacy project to be and why?
I'm excited about the aquatic center. It's something that everyone can enjoy. It's something that will be here for a long time for people to enjoy, and selfishly, the water is my happy place. So
Council discussion often gets filtered through each councilperson's unique background and experiences, including insurance, real estate, legal, finance, and education. If appointed, what unique lens will you see things through that would help diversify and strengthen our deliberations?
Well, I do have spent a lot of time, about 12 years in higher education, so the education piece would come into play. But I also do have a human services background with my work through United Way. So that would be, I think, something unique that I could bring to the table.
Okay, I'll ask you the same question. How do you approach decision-making to make sure you're making sound decisions that are in the best interest of the community at large?
Absolutely. So this is, this is a public role, and you need to listen to the public. People come with different backgrounds and stories, and it's important to meet them where they're at and listen to what they have to say and why they have the feelings that they do. But you also have to look at data. What is the data telling us? And you have to listen to the experts in the field as well. I would absolutely look to the experts, city staff. They're the experts, I'm not, so I would rely on what they had to say. So problem solving is a multifaceted endeavor.
Any follow-up questions?
Thank you for your
Destiny.
time.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll ask Mr. Harper to please join us. Welcome, Grant. Come on in. Yep, just stand in front of the mic and speak into the mic.
Very good. Just to, for the listening audience, again, my name is Grant Harper. Your Honor and council members, as a natural extension of my candidacy from last fall, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you regarding this appointment. My objective to serve Marion is underpinned by my family being residents of Marion for 40 years. My two sons are K-12 graduates of Linmark. Additionally, it's supported by my deep experience in emergency preparedness, business continuity, information security, quality management, and also project management, elements of which are critical to city operations. Looking back to the time frame between 1998 and 2016, which that seems somewhat a long time ago, my civic engagement was curtailed greatly by virtue of professional demands and business travel. I think some of the existing city council members understand that conflict on occasion. However, as foretold by my activities in the 1990s, I was one of the founding fathers of Marion's Boy Scout Troop 360, and that was preceded by work with the Cub Scouts. And then upon my retirement in 2017, I again sought a civic role, which ultimately led me to run for city council. Being appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission in December was an important step to realize that civic role, and I appreciate that opportunity. However, that's relatively limited, and I don't think that relative limited involvement is a detriment to what I might offer the city. Moreover, I feel that my composite experience will be to be able to provide insights to governmental considerations and Marion's present day operations that would benefit from some of the experience base that I have. In thinking about last fall's election, I accepted a pretty substantial risk to run against a community icon. As the sole challenger to Mr. Draper, it turned out to be somewhat of a proving ground and a learning experience, which I took great benefit from. Specifically, the interactions that I had with Mr. Draper, albeit they limited, I was impressed by the similarity of thought and concern that we held for the city and its go-forward prosperity. And I do regret that we didn't have opportunities to have more conversations in that regard. We didn't have debates at the forums. We had really, again, a proving ground to see where we had alignment. of concern. With certainty, if I'm appointed to fill this council vacancy, I'll serve the Marion citizenry with integrity. I have no restriction on my time commitment. I'm retired. I have no known conflict of interest, and if I were to discover something, I would bring it forward and act accordingly. I will comply with this council's code of ethics without question, and to help provide continuity of governance for the city, I would intend to run for re-election in 2021. Now for a few highlights regarding my professional career, as was outlined in the packet that I submitted for consideration to all of you. After serving as a science educator and coach at Linmar for 6 years, I transitioned into a series of technically oriented business endeavors of increasing responsibility. The following are the principal areas that I endeavored in. I was an emergency planner and subsequently supervisor of emergency planning for the Dwayne Arnold Energy Center in Palo, which is Iowa's only power plant, and soon, I believe late this year, to go into shutdown. That work was characterized by an extreme amount of work at the federal level, state, county, and local levels with the appropriate authorities to develop and maintain the emergency response plans that are required of the power plant. The interesting thing about that is those plans had to undergo frequent and repetitive federal evaluation and approval. And for my efforts in this regard, I received commendation from Governor Terry Branstad for the work that I did in that regard. His letter was included in my packet. After approximately 7 years in emergency planning, I moved into field operations for then Iowa Electric, the forerunner to now Alliant Energy. Therein, I held a series of managerial and director level roles for service delivery and support of commercial and large industrial customers in the Marion Cedar Rapids area. After almost 14 years of work in the utility industry, I joined Pearson Education in Iowa City and provided project management leadership focused on deployment of large-scale online and paper-based testing programs for various state education agencies. During my work for Pearson, I was selected to lead multiple high-visibility, business-critical initiatives, some of which are the following. I provided senior leadership to enhance information security and business continuity planning for Pearson's 6 North American business units. I also led a large cross-functional project team through a year-long effort to rescue and recover a troubled state K-12 educational program or testing program. That program represented $15 to $18 million a year over a 5-year total contract period. So it was a very critical strategic effort to get that put back on track, and we were successful. And finally, I directed a 2-year-long strategic initiative to implement and certify an ISO 9001 quality management system as a means to guide the maintenance of our project management capabilities for critical contract delivery. That's a rather diverse set of experience, and sometimes I wonder, how did I survive all of that? But it was a learning adventure at every turn of the corner. Given the foregoing, I think that experience base will complement the council's professional makeup and considerations that need to be made by the council to govern the city in a proper and fair manner. I appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to the questions that the council will have.
Thank you.
Do you plan on running for this position at the next city election?
Yes.
Do you have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from voting?
No.
What is your volunteer history?
So as I mentioned, it was principally involved with Cub Scouting and then at the realization that the scouts that had been together were all going to scatter to different troops. We undertook the initiative to form Troop 360, which is based at Faith Lutheran Church. We didn't want the kids to scatter and not have a composite experience relative to their total scout life. And so that was probably the principal thing that I did from a volunteer standpoint. As soon as I went to work for Pearson, a lot of the available time that I had evaporated for anything else over and above that.
What do you like most about Marion?
My wife and I grew up in suburban Minneapolis. So the biggest thing we like is the small town feel. We came here when Marion was about 18,000 people. And even though it's 40,000 and some change, we still value the small town feel. The other things that I like about Marion is first responder responsiveness. Over the 40 years, there have been a few times when I've had to call about something, and there has always been a very hyper-responsive posture that the first responders had. Staff responsiveness. I suppose there are now some notes going back and forth on Zoom among staff members, and they might be going, well, he was irritating on this one issue, that issue, or whatever, but they were very responsive in resolving my concern and do so promptly. And also, I think the other thing that we enjoy, because we are able to take benefit of the labor, is that is well-directed growth. And we see that with our parks, we see that with the trails, and I think that's just a continuous sort of foundational point of enjoyment that we have.
What do you see as challenges for Marion?
There are several. Given our experience here with the pandemic, I think that's the number one on my list, ongoing planning and response for long-term service delivery during active and residual pandemic conditions. I think this is going to be with us for a while. The forthcoming proposal regarding the landfill. I have concerns about that just from the standpoint of having a deep understanding of water quality impacts, timelines, what's intended to inform a decision. I think maintaining a balance between growth and development versus improvements to existing infrastructure is always a persistent challenge and tension that has to be dealt with. And I think that's a very difficult balance. Given the growth opportunities and the plans that I've seen, I maybe mentioned this last fall, but I think our project management capacity and the capacity to manage the portfolio of work, I hope that we can be responsive to that so that what we don't do is create a situation of resource constraints to address the necessary oversight that the various projects that we have would be. And then finally, ongoing vitalization of the uptown area as a gateway to all of Marion's neighborhoods and other centers of activity.
Some current legacy city projects include the new fire station, public works facility, library, and the community YMCA. Based on the trajectory of our growth and city needs, what do you envision the next legacy project to be and why?
I'm not sure of which has the highest priority, but I would have to say, I think the next fire station. Given the land acquisition timelines, the siting validation requirements that are necessary, that seems to would have a rather long lead time. I do agree that a new pool infrastructure, recreational opportunities need to be factored into the mix, as those are exposed by housing growth and on longer term development plans. So I think fire station and emergency response capability, and then recreation.
Council discussion often gets filtered through each council person's unique background and experiences, including insurance, real estate, legal, finance, and education. If appointed, what unique lens will you see things through that would help diversify and strengthen our deliberations?
So my considerations would always be initially formed through understanding the scope of an intended action. But with that, I would want to look at the clarity of scoping, the timeline of that scope, and what that scope represents relative to ongoing maintenance burden for the city, whatever the issue is. And so, but I would go on to say, and I think this will relate to a forthcoming question. Understanding is one part of the equation in order to inform decision making. The other thing is to have solid enough relationships with city staff and other council members so that communication can be very fluid, and so that that understanding can be attained. And then subsequently, at some point when the council has to make a decision, that understanding, if it informs my agreement with that, or if it informs my disagreement with that, that's okay. But what all of that does is then achieves the ability to be aligned about an outcome that the city decides they're going to go do. I may not like the decision, but I am going to support the decision if that's in the greatest composite thinking that the city council would render.
Okay. So do you feel that you've answered my question about how do you approach decision making, or do you want to add to that?
Your Honor, that would be your determination.
I want to give you an opportunity to say more if you'd like to.
No, all I would say is, and let me put my prior comments in a little different context.
Yeah.
I mentioned that I led a large cross-functional program recovery team in order to stabilize many multi-million-dollar projects. The total number of project principals on that endeavor were somewhere on the order of 25 to 30 people representing different functional areas of the business. And so it's on that basis that I had to make sure that there were a web of relationships, effective relationships, to at least engender communication amongst the team. So that what that team could do is ultimately get aligned around a direction and an executable that we needed to deliver on. So in that sort of, I guess, within that general framework is how I typically try to think about the actions that I do professionally.
Okay, thank you. Any other follow-up questions from the council? Yes, Mrs. Ternad.
Thank you. My apologies. Mr. Harper, I followed you through all of the election process, through all of your, and you need to be commended on your drive, and yet here you stand before us today to continue to keep seeking that position. So my hat's off to you on that. If I was to ask of you of one item that would be something that would be reflective of you, that you would bring to the city and the city council as a city council person, in one word or one topic, what could you give me that would persuade filling that position for you specifically? I'm just curious to follow a campaign theme here that you've been running with. I'd like to hear what your thoughts were.
Great question. Other than the question my wife asked me earlier today, this is the toughest one. I think my capacity and my curiosity and capacity to examine critical issues that are before potentially us as the council, or before me, is I think the one thing that would be universal to basically my being. I'm inquisitive. I want to understand, and it's not that understanding is not to refute, but to inform the decision process that ultimately would need to engage in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Harper.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll ask Mr. Kibler to please join us. Welcome.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the mayor and the esteemed council members for this opportunity tonight. It seems like it's been a long time in coming. It's been 2 months where we've been waiting for this. I think you've all been as anxious as the candidates that are sitting out in the atrium have been to get to this point. I would definitely say it's unprecedented in our lifetimes. Please forgive me, I am a bit nervous.
It's okay.
I've been listening to the 500 other candidates, and I don't think there's a bad choice in the room. So I don't envy your position in having to choose amongst us. Now, that being said, my name is Michael Kibler, though most people simply know me as Mike. And I address you tonight not as an exceptional leader of business or industry or an educational master or someone who has practiced law. Those folks are in the atrium out there behind me, and they have done a wonderful job. I am very pleased and very honored to be in their presence. I am a blue-collar worker, more accustomed to wearing high-vis yellow and blue jeans, work boots, hard hats than I am office wear. But that being said, I'm not a stranger to it either. I work as a team member in the construction company that I work for, and in doing so, I have learned to lead more than just follow. I have also been an adult leader in Boy Scouts, in Cub Scouts. I've also been one of the considerably few fathers that are out there as adult leaders in Girl Scouts. And in those organizations, we teach our youth through their own experiences to become leaders. One of the things that is amazing to me is watching somebody go from a very timid person to somebody who is reaching out and able to lead. That's something I've had to learn to do myself as someone who has been a worker and just simply takes orders and goes. I'm a doer of things. I can bring that to the table. Fiscally, my beliefs and ideals lead me to desire frugality and thriftiness. I was very pleased Tuesday night to hear a member of the council pump the brakes on the Aquatic Center project, which I do support, but I was very pleased to hear that when we were talking about the expenditures, the budget overruns, as we're just getting started with that project. I was amazed to hear that what I consider the new pool in town is already 33 years old. I remember learning how to swim at Legion Pool in Thomas Park. It took me a lot longer to get to the new pool out on the east end of town. But as a young person, I spent a lot of time there. I look forward to the new aquatic center and what it will do for our young people who haven't been born yet. That being one of my ideals is not being afraid to pump the brakes when I think something's getting too expensive or looking too expensive. That's one of the things I do for the company I work with, is I look for the more frugal choices in how to proceed, but not make expenditures that are more than what we have budgeted or more than what we can absorb into the budget. I grew up in this town. I have been here all but 6 years of my 48 years on this planet. I remember when this town was considerably smaller than it is now. I'm very pleased to see the way it's been built up. It still has, as has been mentioned before tonight, the small town feel. We are sprawling. That's not a bad thing. We are reaching out to our surrounding communities. We are bringing in people. We have a decent base of employers, whether it be commercial, whether it be industrial, whether it be retail. That can always be expanded. I look forward to the opportunities to reach out and expand those. One of the things I listed in my letter to the council to be considered for this was that I have a vested interest in this community remaining successful. I am one of 3 generations in my family, part of 4 generations in my wife's family, as our parents, our grandparents live here in town. Our children, one of which just graduated from Marion High School this year in a most uncommon ceremony. I'm sure some of you have seen the ceremonies like Linmar is doing with a 4-day graduation ceremony to socially distance. My daughter's school did a drive-through ceremony where they were given the attention and the diplomas. They'll pick up their actual diplomas sometime in June. It's not something like I've seen before. When I graduated school, we were the first Marion High School class to graduate at the Paramount Theater. Prior to that, it had been done either in the school's gymnasium or at the football field. So outdoor graduations, done that, done there. One of the things I would like for this community to do is to remain open to all comers, regardless of age, of gender, of ethnicity, or of financial class. And again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come before you and speak and possibly become a sitting member of this council.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Questions?
Do you plan on running for this position at the next city election?
That I will answer in this way. As situations continually change, if I find myself in a position that I still desire to be a part of this council at that time, I will run. If I am a sitting member of this council, I will more than likely run for re-election. If I am not a member of this council and the current members meet my satisfaction, then I will stand aside and let them do the job that needs to be done.
Do you have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from voting?
I do work for a construction trade company here in town. If there is anything that comes up where it might be questionable, I will gladly abstain.
What is your volunteer history?
As stated, I have volunteered with the Girl Scouts of America, the Boy Scouts of America, both through Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts currently, in positions with adult leadership in Girl Scouts, committee member with Cub Scouts, also the PAC's Cub Master, and currently I am a Assistant Scoutmaster with our Boy Scout troop at Marion Christian Church. I also volunteer in various capacities through Marion Christian Church, mostly through what they need within the building, and oftentimes helping our members of our congregation.
What do you like most about Marion?
Marion is the place I grew up. It's where I feel most at home. I've lived in a couple other places in Iowa, but I always came home to Marion. This community has been a place where I have spent time riding my bicycle to the police department when it was here just a couple blocks away, speaking with the officers on duty at the desk, speaking with the officers as they're getting ready to head out in their cars. Some of my friends growing up had parents that were on the police force, and you never knew it was them until they stepped out of the car if they happened to pull you over when you're riding your bicycle and actually doing things right, and they give you a reward for it. It was something that has held with me over the years, and the fact that they took the time to see that somebody was caring enough to do the responsible things and treat that with kindness and recognition.
What do you see as challenges for Marion?
Challenges for Marion, balancing the fiscal responsibilities and the growth responsibilities of this town.
Some current legacy city projects include the new fire station, public works facility, library, and community YMCA. Based on the trajectory of our growth and city needs, what do you envision the next legacy project to be and why?
My vision for the next legacy project would be the forecasted aquatic center. That's something our children will need, our young people will need. Along with that, I would definitely believe that we need to be constantly searching into the future to locate areas where we are going to need additional fire coverage, where we're going to need additional police coverage, where we protect our citizens, but we don't necessarily get in their way. And the last on that part would be to also start exploring opportunities for not so much the younger kids and not the young adults, but the teens who always feel like they fall in the cracks. And there's, to quote something that's been going around since I was a teenager, there's nothing to do in this town for a teenager. I believe there is stuff, just they don't.
Council discussion often gets filtered through each council person's unique background and experiences, including insurance, real estate, legal, finance, and education. If appointed, what unique lens will you see things through that would help diversify and strengthen our deliberations?
With backgrounds in transportation and construction, I would heavily rely on those, as well as my desire for this community to be fiscally responsible, to do no harm to anyone, and to follow the ideals that are set by our state's flag. Our liberties we prize, our rights we will maintain.
Okay. I'll ask you my question. How do you approach decision-making to make sure that it's sound decisions in the best interest of the greater number of people in the community.
Many times I will write out what the decision is going to be by going through a process of writing down the pros and the cons. I will weigh those pros and cons, deliberate with the people around me, and try to come to the best possible decision. It's not going to make everyone happy, but the goal is to be the best decision to move things forward.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Thank you, Mike.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a great evening.
Okay, we've now heard from all 6 candidates. Is our process now to vote? So as she's handing out, our city clerk is handing out the ballots, I just want to thank all 6 candidates sincerely for your interest, for being patient with this process for the last several months, for stepping forward. It takes a lot of courage and it's, you know, it's a risk to put yourself forward and to be part of the process, but it's encouraging to see that everyone, I think all 6 candidates have excellent credentials, would do an excellent job. I mean that sincerely. It's really a testament to the community that we have such qualified people that want to serve and be part of the decision-making and want to contribute their talents and their ideas in this way. And it says a lot about our community. And whatever happens this evening, you know, we will only be able to select one individual. And I want to encourage the other 5 to please look for other opportunities to get involved. We have, I believe, around 80 positions on city boards and commissions that are appointed by this council. There are openings that are available throughout the year. Look for those. I know that several of them do already serve in these positions, but encourage them to continue to be involved. There are many volunteer opportunities, and we need your talents, we need your perspectives and your input, even if it's not through a council seat. So with that, we'll proceed with voting. I'm sorry. No, I haven't. I need to vote. I've been talking. So.
We have 1 vote for Grant Harper. Second vote for Grant Harper. Third vote for Grant Harper. 1 vote for Destiny Hastings. 1 vote for Dale Monroe. And a second vote for Dale Monroe. So the next vote will be between Grant Harper and Dale Monroe. We'll have to vote
Okay, so
again.
we will have a second ballot that will be between Grant Harper and Dale Monroe. Okay.
We have one for Dale Monroe. A second for Dale Monroe. One for Grant Harper. A second for Grant Harper. Third for Grant Harper. And a fourth for Grant Harper. So Grant Harper is the candidate that
Okay, so our next council member, or the council member to fill the vacancy is Grant Harper. So again, I want to thank all the candidates. Really appreciate your interest in the position. And would again, encourage you to stay involved in other ways. So thank you. So we will administer the oath of office to Grant Harper at this time. Correct?
there's a resolution. First,
Oh,
I need
I'm sorry.
to, I need to read who voted for.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Who for the record. I can read your signatures. So for the first ballot, Colette Atkins voted for Destiny Hastings. Steve and Mayor Ablosly voted for Dale Monroe. And Randy, Renee, and Will voted for Grant Harper. And in the ballot, the second ballot, Will, Renee, Colette, and Randy voted for Grant Harper, and Steve and Nick voted for Dale Monroe.
Okay. So now we'll move on to the resolution. Mrs. Sternad?
Happy to make a motion to approve resolution number 28446, making an appointment to fill the existing vacancy on the Marion City Council until the next pending election as defined in section 69.12 of the Iowa Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28446, making an appointment to fill the existing vacancy on the Marion City Council till the next pending election is defined in section 69.12 of the Iowa Code. And we specify that that vacancies, that appointment is Grant Harper.
Yeah, the resolution will state who the.
Okay.
Yep.
Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 28446, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. At this time, I will ask Mr. Harper to come forward for the oath of office and congratulate Mr. Harper. Or we can just stand far apart. There we go. We'll make it 6 feet. Okay. Repeat after, raise your right hand or repeat after me, please. Okay. I, Grant Harper, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa, and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all the duties of the office of council member at large. Duties of the office of council member at large in the City of Marion, Iowa, as now or hereafter required by law. Congratulations. I won't shake your hand, but glad to have you aboard. And you can take your seat right there. Again, I'll congratulate Mr. Harper. Welcome to the council. Look forward to working with you. Okay. a 1-minute recess?
Yes.
Okay. I did see it.
Haven't seen a lot in the last few days. No. Weatherman Lewis, Monday, Thursday.
It's just.
Oh, yeah. She was well.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We'll call the meeting back to order here and proceed with the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. First, we have the public forum. This is a time that is set aside for comments from the public on topics that are listed on the agenda but not associated with the public hearing. If there are any comments from the public at this time, they can be sent via email. And I don't know if we received any ahead of time.
I have not received any.
Okay. Just wait a few seconds here to see if any questions come in. Okay, we'll move on. If any do come in, we can come back. All right, we'll proceed with the consent agenda. Councilmember Atkins.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. Includes A1 through F5, resolutions 28447 through 28462.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes items A1 through F5 and resolutions 28447 through 28462. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next section of the agenda, I will turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention from voting and discussion as follows. Includes items E1 through F2, resolutions 28463 through 28465.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention, including resolution numbers 28463 through 28465. Is there discussion on any of these items? All those in favor of the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Motion carries with one abstention. Move the motion meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you. At this time, we have a public hearing on the proposed amendment to the Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area. The public hearing is open. When will we have a presentation for the members of the public here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, it's consistent with the city's economic development policy to use tax increment financing to support economic development and brownfield remediation efforts. For the city to be able to pursue a project, that project has to be specifically named in the urban renewal area plan for the urban renewal area that covers the project. Typically, Marion packages multiple projects together into a larger amendment instead of pursuing them individually. Today, we're amending Collins Road Urban Renewal Area Plan to include 3 projects. Those are Victory Sports. This project is to support the expansion of an existing Marion-based business. And second is an agreement with Genesis Equities. This is related to the environmental cleanup and construction of the last phase of the 6th Avenue project, as well as administrative and professional cost recovery plan for fiscal years 2022 through 2024.
Okay. At this time, we will take comments from the public, either in favor or in opposition of this measure. Again, comments may be forwarded to the city clerk via the email option. And I will ask if any have been received before this meeting.
I have not received any.
I'll ask Amal if she has received any through her office or through the city manager's office.
We haven't.
Have not received any comments. Have any
Yes.
comments come in at this time?
No.
Okay. So we will close the public hearing and move on to the resolution.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28466, approving urban renewal plan amendment for the Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28466, approving the urban renewal plan amendment for the Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area. Discussion? Okay. We'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 28466, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, and I will note to the city clerk to please note in the minutes that I am voting in favor, but I'm abstaining with regard to Genesis. Okay. So we'll vote in favor of the other 2. Okay, and the motion has been approved. At this time, we have another public hearing on a proposed development agreement with Victory Sports Center, Inc. Public hearing is open. And who will give the presentation? Is that Ms. Altaher again?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the city had executed a memorandum of understanding with Victory Gymnastics to assist them with their expansion into a new business venture. They are starting Victory Sports. This is a warrior style fitness course. Their new facility is expected to be close to 19,000 square feet in area, and their investment is going to be close to 3.1 million. Marion will be assisting their development costs, assisting them in their development costs by giving them an 80% rebate, tax rebate for up to 10 years or until 300,000 cap is satisfied, whichever occurs first. Construction is underway and they're expected to be fully assessed January 2021. That would make the rebate to start December 22nd.
December 2022.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, December 2022.
Okay, at this time, we'll ask for comments from the public, either in favor or in opposition of this measure. If there are any comments, this would be the time to send those to the city clerk via the email feature. We'll ask the city clerk if any comments have been received prior to this meeting.
I have not received any.
Okay. Amal, have we received anything from the public prior to this meeting?
We haven't, Your Honor.
None, okay. Have anything come in during this meeting?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll note that for the record, and we'll close the public hearing and proceed to vote.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 28467, approving the development agreement with Victory Sports Center Incorporated, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28467, approving a development agreement with Victory Sports Center, Inc., authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 28467, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28468, authorizing and approving a loan agreement providing for the issuance of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2020A, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28468, authorizing and approving a loan agreement providing for the issuance of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2020A, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 28468, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion's approved.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 28469, authorizing and approving a loan agreement, authorizing call of bonds, providing for the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020B, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Jensen, seconded by Councilmember Sternad, to approve resolution number 28469, authorizing and approving a loan agreement, authorizing call for bonds, providing for the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020B, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 28469, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion's approved. At this time, we have another public hearing on the proposed adoption of a fiscal year 2019-2020 budget amendment. Public hearing is now open. Zach, will you be giving the presentation?
I will, Your Honor, and council. Good evening. This budget amendment is our end of the year budget amendment per Iowa State Code 384.18. A budget amendment is required if a city expects to go over in any of their function or program areas for the year. There's two areas that we're forecasting that will go over by the end of the year, one of which is debt service, and the second one is general government. For debt service, we have the refinancing of bonds, completely leading the way in that area, totaling a little over 11.9 million, almost $12 million. That's primarily to reduce the interest payments that we're paying on that. So that will be a net savings over the long term for the city. And then on the general government side, for the expenditures, we have fees associated with increased legal expenses. Our ERP planning system is moving to a hosted environment, the replacement of a server, and then some benches for the Our Town Upway. The total increase in expenditures for that would be $134,328. In addition to those, we have additional expenditures that we're amending into the budget. Though the city council does approve the city budget, in addition to that, the water budget is also included. So in this, the water department is asking for an increase budget authority in there for $600,000. Additionally, there's a transfer of $140,000 to address an audit finding. We have the replacement of our e-communications 911 center. They had some water damage due to a leak. We have additional street lighting expenditures, and lastly, increased revenue as well as expenditures for the library's virtual branch. In total, this would increase our revenues by a little over 11 million, and we'd be increasing our expenditures by a little over $13 million.
Okay, that's the presentation. At this time, we will ask for comments from the members of the public, either in favor or in opposition of this measure. We'll give people the time to send those via the email feature. We'll ask the city clerk if she's received any comments prior to this meeting.
I have not received any.
And Mr. Wolf, have you received anything?
We have not, Your Honor.
I'm assuming we haven't received any other comments via email at this time.
We have not.
We'll close the public hearing and proceed with the vote.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 28470, approving fiscal year 2019-2020 budget amendment.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28470, approving the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget amendment. Discussion? Ms. Gadela.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a request because I know we won't have it on the spot, but I'd be curious to see last year's document to see if we have continuing categories that we're over budget on annually so that we can look to maybe a different strategy for forecasting in those areas. So I don't know exactly how to handle it, but I know Zach can't whip out that sheet and give us all time to digest it, but I would request that we receive that so that, again, we can compare it with this year's and see if there are trends that we can look at tackling differently.
First off, I very much appreciate that, Councilwoman Gedalia, for giving us time to put that together, and I'll get that together for council and send out that report.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Zach, one question. Could you put the details of the expenses back on the screen, please?
Okay.
We talked about a number of these on Tuesday, but the largest one that is really not related to debt is the transfer to correct the audit finding. And I know we talked about that. Obviously, there's a resolution number back in January.
Correct.
Since that's a larger amount, I cannot recall what that is for. Can you remind us what that is related to?
It was a finding related to sanitary sewer and a transfer. Leanne would be able to speak more directly to the details behind it, but it was an audit finding this last year that we wanted to make sure that we had corrected in this year's budget. That was from a previous fiscal year.
So it's not, yeah, I mean, I remember, I always read the audit report and certainly the auditor's opinion and the management report, but that's more of a transfer dollars issue, of the dollars not just being in the right bucket.
That is my understanding.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Harper.
Yeah, Zach is the new guy to the council. I think I heard you comment that there was one of these expenditure items that resulted in a net or an increase in revenue. Did I mishear that, or if so, could you explain it?
Oh, great question. One of the requirements by Iowa State Code is we cannot go over any expenditure items without amending our budget. However, we're able to bring in excess revenue. So one of the things to note is all the additional areas that we are not expecting to receive revenue, noted here. For example, in our general fund forecast, when we created the budget for this last year, which looking back now, this was the majority of the budget was put together back in February. We had forecast at that point for the general fund that we would have about $500,000 in additional fund balance by the end of the year, a compilation of additional revenue and underspending by departments. In the most recent forecast that we put together, it's actually looking more favorable. I'm projecting right now that it may bring in another $200,000 in total fund balance by the end of the year. So one of the things to note here is each revenue item that we're expecting to bring in doesn't match necessarily with an expenditure side. So it's a little difficult to expect that. That's the main reason why expenditures exceed revenue in this amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question,
Yeah,
Councilman?
yeah, it does. It clarifies it. Thanks.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 28470, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion's approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve, to receive, file, and discuss correspondence regarding request for letter of support of medical cannabidiol dispensary. This is on behalf of the Iowa Cannabis Company.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to receive, file, and discuss correspondence regarding request for letter of support of medical cannabidiol dispensary. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion's approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 28471, approving the purchase of a replacement sewer camera system from Insight Vision in the amount of $45,140.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28471, approving the purchase of a replacement sewer camera system from Insight Vision in the amount of $45,140. The amount of $45,140. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 28471, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion's approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 20-06, amending chapter 105 of the solid waste ordinance and establishing base monthly collection fees at $17.50. This is the initial consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 20-06, amending chapter 105 of the solid waste ordinance, establishing base monthly collection fees at $17.50. Discussion. All those in favor of ordinance number 20-06, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 20-07, amending chapter 99 of the sanitary sewer ordinance, increasing monthly domestic and industrial user charges from $3.80 to $4.10, and establishing new construction sanitary sewer connection fees at $2,000. This is the initial consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 20-07, amending chapter 99 of the sanitary sewer ordinance, increasing monthly domestic and industrial user charges from $3.80 to $4.10, and establishing new construction sanitary sewer connection fees at $2,000. Discussion. Yes, Mrs. Sternad.
Mayor, I did have one, I had a telephone call in question on this, and the question was, would the $2,000 be per address or location? Would there be any modifications to that $2,000 based on square footage? Et cetera, along with that?
We have Director Miller here. He can answer the question.
Yes, Your Honor, Counsel. The way we're putting that together, it's for new construction units. The one thing we are working for is how it's going to address multifamily units. We have new multifamily units being built right now. Some of those units have quite a few dwellings in them. So right now, we are programming that to be per new construction dwelling unit. With a multifamily home, it will be, I don't want to call it prorated, but it will be it'll be broken out, like you said, per square footage or how many dwellings that'll actually impact the capacity charge. So what we're basically looking at, when you average a new construction home, there's about 2.5 people that we average in that home. Each person produces about 100 gallons of effluent. We're going to do the same thing and calculate that based on multifamily.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my understanding is it would be prorated appropriately.
Yes,
Thank
yeah, and we're basically looking at the flow. We're not looking at the dwelling unit only. We want to calculate that based on flow.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So
Go
do
ahead,
you
Will.
calculate a multifamily unit as, so if there's the two, let's say it's a 2-unit building, you have 2.5 people per unit? No. So it's different. Yeah, and so there's a standards of rate that we use in wastewater. And those standards basically lay out how you calculate a multifamily unit. And so let's take a four multi-living complex, a 4-unit apartment. Those will actually calculate out to, I think, 2 dwelling units, 2 comparable dwelling units, how that works. So, and I'll bring that next time we have the ordinance reading. That way you can see that. So, yep.
Yes, Mr. Jensen.
Yeah, on Tuesday, you talked about that the $2,000 is the equivalent, or the same as what Cedar Rapids and Hiawatha are doing, and I'm fine with that. So when we talk about the larger units with multiple units, is the manner and how we're doing that
We're going to be
in the
consistent.
same manner?
Yes, sir.
So it's being consistent?
Yeah, we're staying consistent.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions while Ryan's here? Okay, thank you, Ryan. Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance number 20-07, initial consideration, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Mr. Brandt?
Yes, I'm actually going to take this one. Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28472, approving the purchase of a 2020 Chevrolet Suburban from Carl Chevrolet in the amount of $41,170.90.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28472, approving the purchase of a 2020 Chevrolet Suburban from Carl Chevrolet in the amount of $41,170.90. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 28472, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Okay.
Mayor, I make the motion to approve resolution 28473, approving a professional service agreement between the City of Marion and Water's Edge Aquatics Design regarding the Outdoor Aquatic Center feasibility study in the amount of $58,500.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28473, approving a professional services agreement between the City of Marion and Water's Edge Aquatics Design for the Outdoor Aquatic Center feasibility study in the amount of $58,500. Discussion? Ms. Gadela?
Yes, I won't go on for as long as I did the other night. I just want to reiterate, I do support this project. For me, it's 100% about the timing. I just plan to be a little more conservative with a lowercase c on projects that aren't needs for the city or projects that aren't already in progress. So I think that since this one hasn't started, I know that the will has been there. And as I said, I support this project, but I really just want to see how the community fares as the fog of the pandemic begins to lift. So I'm going to be voting no for that reason only.
Thank you. Other discussion?
Just a question, Your Honor. What's the duration of this feasibility study? I forget, I think it was addressed in work session, but I just don't recall. Is this a 3-year, 4-year evolution that would obligate us to this expenditure?
We have Seth with us, I think, if we can answer that.
Yeah, Your Honor and Counsel, this process is a 11th month process, but we're looking 6 or 7 years down the road before we actually start construction for an aquatic center. So this is kind of the starting process and foundation for the whole project.
Does the output of this feasibility study inform some actions that would then ensue over the next 4 to 7 years in order to make that a reality? I'm trying to understand what the total timeline leading into an active project would be.
So the big part of this is going to be the public outreach, and then we also need to establish a site for the project. So really, the first thing that we need to do is be able to identify the site and be able to figure out the funding source for that procurement for the site. So that would be the first thing that would need to come out of this project before we can get moving on to actually for a construction site for it. We have the pools at 33 years right now with a 40-year end of life. So really, we're looking for that 6 to 7 years. I mean, of course, that's just the pace for right now. If things want to move forward faster, they certainly can. But right now, that's kind of our layout plan for the pool.
Thank you.
Did it answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Other questions, Mrs. Sternad?
Yes, Seth, while we got you here, it seems to me like I have the packet back in my office that goes back to the Parks Master Plan. I believe it goes back to 2017. And in there, are you familiar with that report?
Yes, I am.
Do you recall, was there anything in there? I know that it talked about our pools, but was there any information that led or would lead us into this study with the Aquatic Center? I don't believe it zeroed in on an Aquatic Center. I think it just talked overall about our pool resources, but can you?
Yeah, so Water's Edge was actually the consulting firm for the master plan. And part of that, they were looking at our current site and what we can do. And with the current facility, we're limited on spacing over there. And then also with the fact that you're putting new infrastructure over old. And so, you know, when you look at the final price tag of something like that, it's very similar to a new, and you're using old infrastructure. The other component of this is really from the feasibility study is to determine those needs, whether it is an aquatic center or those pools. You know, that's kind of really the intent of it, is to get that public feedback. The reason why we are saying aquatic center is from that Imagine Next project that was released in 2017 is what really kind of started this initiative.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. And I knew I remembered that name from the past, and I knew there was some studies relating to whether it was pools versus aquatic centers. So I appreciate that clarification on that.
Yep.
Mr. Jensen?
Yeah, I think, again, one of the key reasons I am going to vote in favor of this is I think it does completely line up with what our citizens want based upon Imagine Next. Again, this was the #1 item that they were talking about in that survey. So I don't think we need to do a citizen survey to say, do we want it? Do we need it? I think the question in my mind is, what are we going to need and when are we going to need it? You talk about another 6 to 7 years for the current pool. I think that is probably extending that pool further out than it should be. But the other key thing I think that is important when we do this study is looking at what's around us, and then to the extent when we talk about an aquatic center in Marion, what does that really mean? And I think that's why we have to do this now, so that we know what the city of Marion may be thinking about in the future. Also, as it pertains to what Cedar Rapids may be doing. So there's been discussion about some investors coming in, put in a big aquatics park down on the south side. If that's done, what's the impact of what Marion should do? And obviously Waterloo is expanding their water park significantly with roller coaster rides and other entertainment equipment. So to me, I think the time to do it is now. And it is not committing us to anything beyond the 58,500. All of those decisions are going to be made years down the road, but I think it's important to know what's the scope of what's going to be needed when we start looking at those decisions.
I agree with Mayor Pro Tem. I think given the useful life that's left in the current pool, I think we have to start now to plan and to see what, first of all, what the community can support, what the community wants, what we're able to afford. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Seth, all these things will come out of this study.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
What we can afford, what our community is willing to support, and what they're looking for. And the biggest piece to me is the siting, the land acquisition.
Mhm.
That can take a long time to find the right spot and to negotiate that and to find at the right price. I mean, finding a spot close in, and that's a good spot for the entire community. I mean, I think that's going to be a challenge, and it's not going to get easier as we continue to develop. So I think the sooner we start in planning and figuring out at least what it's going to look like, what it needs to be, and what we can afford. I mean, once you do that, you can delay the construction of it as long as you need to. If the timing is not right to begin construction. The one question I did have, and there was some discussion on Tuesday about it, and I missed it, but I heard the tail end of the comment that the 58,500, that was not what was originally budgeted, or what was budgeted for this?
So when we first had this in the CIP, we had 30,000, and when we started going into the scope for the project and talking to other communities as we got closer to last year when we were developing this project, we realized that we under budgeted tremendously, and so we amended the CIP project to 60,000 to be able to complete all the scope of services that are in front of you.
So it's just bad estimating on our part?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering what the core reasons for that. I mean, it's doubling of the amounts. I just was curious what that was, why that was. But okay, but this is budgeted. It's in the budget.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So we've already approved this in the budget. CIP. Okay. Any other discussion? Do you have anything else to add, Renee? Okay. Okay. If there's no more comments, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 28473, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have one no. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. This time we have a public hearing under engineering regarding the 2020 Fire Station 2 parking lot reconstruction project. Public hearing is now open. We'll ask for a brief presentation from the city engineer. Is that correct, Mike?
All right, I think I'm unmuted now. So this is the project to replace the pavement for both the entrance and exit at Fire Station number 2 off of Katz Drive. We did get 4 bids. The low bid was from Midwest Concrete at $267,212.34, which was 97.42% of the engineer's estimate. There's a late start date of 7/20/20, 50 working days, and $500 per day in liquidated damages. And we are recommending going with the low bid of Midwest Concrete.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask for comments from members of the public, either in favor or in opposition of this measure. We will take those via the email feature at this time, and I'll ask the city clerk while we're waiting if we've received anything, any comments prior to the meeting.
We have not received any.
None. Mr. Barkilo, did you receive anything prior to the meeting?
Nope.
Okay, we'll note that for the record. No comments were received prior to the meeting, and I'm assuming no comments are coming in at this point.
Nope.
Okay. Just wait a couple seconds here just to make sure. Still nothing? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll move it back to the council for the decision.
Mayor, I would like to move to approve resolution number 28474, accepting bids and awarding the contract to Midwest Concrete Incorporated regarding the 2020 Fire Station 2 parking lot reconstruction project in the amount of $267,212.34.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28474, accepting bids and awarding the contract to Midwest Concrete, Inc. regarding the 2020 Fire Station 2 parking lot reconstruction project in the amount of $267,212.34. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 28474, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28475, approving 28E agreement between the City of Cedar Rapids, Iowa and the City of Marion, Iowa for collection and payment of benefited district sewer connection charges and sanitary sewer extension fees.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28475, approving the 28E agreement between the City of Cedar Rapids and the City of Marion for collection and payment of benefited district sewer connection charges and sanitary sewer extension fees. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution 28475, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the project calendar regarding the 2020 HMA resurfacing project, and this will include resolution numbers 28476 through 28478.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 2020 HMA resurfacing project, including resolutions 28476 through 28478. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Councilmember Brandt?
Mayor, I make a motion directing staff to develop a 28E with Lynn County regarding the Seacrest Road improvements cost share as part of the 2020 HMA resurfacing project.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to direct staff to develop a 28E agreement with Lynn County for cost sharing on the Seacrest Road improvements as part of the 2020 HMA resurfacing project. Discussion. Yes, Mr. Cerned.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask Mike if he's still available. Mike, have there already been conversations with Lynn County in reference to Seacrest Road, or will this be going to them for a first proposal?
So staff has discussed it. They have not brought it before their board yet. It's gonna cost the Lynn County about $100,000, and then they even pay a 7.5% administration fee for the city of Marion taking care of the inspection and design.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, any further discussion? Questions? All those in favor of resolution number 28487, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve project calendar regarding the 2020 sidewalk ramp repair project as follows, including resolutions number 28479 through 28481.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 2020 sidewalk ramp repair project, including resolutions numbers 28479 through 28481. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, make a motion to approve project calendars regarding the 2020 Marion Fire Station traffic signals. This will be resolution 28482 through 28484.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 2020 Marion Fire Station traffic signals, including resolutions 28482 through 28484. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28485, approving a contract with Great Plains Survey Incorporated to set property pins for property acquired regarding Tower Terrace Phase 8 through the Morrissey property in an amount of $1,250.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28485, approving the contract with Great Plains Survey, Inc. to set property pins for property acquired by the city of Marion regarding Tower Terrace Road Phase 8 through the Morrissey property in the amount of $1,250. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 28485, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I make a motion for resolution number 28486, approving a contract with Stanley Consultants, Inc. for soil testing for the Central Corridor project in the amount of $104,295.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28486, approving the contract with Stanley Consultants, Inc. for soil testing for the Central Corridor project in the amount of $104,295. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 28486, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution 28487, approving purchase agreement for the acquisition of a portion of 1044 10th Street in the amount of $440.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28487, approving a purchase agreement for the acquisition of a portion of 1044 10th Street in the amount of $440. Discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
this and the next two items are in regards to the mini roundabout at 10th and 10th. These are items that were added from Tuesday. So these all had appraisals done on them. And so these are the amounts that we need to pay for the portions of property that we need to acquire to put both the mini roundabout in as well as the sidewalks.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on resolution 28487 at this time? Yes, Mr. Brandt.
I would assume that this does not include paying for any of the right of way. considered city property, correct?
It's purchase of the private property.
Right, so anything that's in the right of way, we're not paying for.
Correct, but for example, the properties for the most part are square or rectangle, and so we need to take a triangle or a curved portion of them to get the roundabout to fit in there.
Is that clear? Other questions or discussion on item 10? All those in favor of resolution number 28487, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28488, approving purchase agreement for acquisition of a portion of 970 10th Street in the amount of $3,443. This is on behalf of the Marion Historical Museum.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28488, approving a purchase agreement for the acquisition of a portion of 970 10th Street in the amount of $3,443 from Marion Historical Museum, Inc. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution 28488, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 28489, approving the purchase agreement for acquisition of a portion of 1013 10th Street in the amount of $2,600. This will be for the Crane property.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28489, approving the purchase agreement for the acquisition of a portion of 1013 10th Street in the amount of $2,600 from the Cranes. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 28489, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. For the next item, I will turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 28490, approving concurrent developer agreement associated with the 2020 Central Corridor Improvement Project Phase 4, 19th Street, 26th Street, for grading, soil mitigation, storm sewer, and traffic signals in an amount of $3,520,601.20.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 28490. Mike, since this is such a large amount, can you go over some of the major details for this expenditure, please?
Sure. So this is the last phase of 6th Avenue that will take us from 19th Street to the roundabout at Marion Iron or 27th Street. This includes the soil mitigation, not only for the existing site that's on the railroad right away, but also our stockpile that we have. It will also address storm sewer, grading, and then ordering of the traffic signals at 22nd Street, since they have about a 6-month lead time. Cedar Rapids also has several signal projects that are coming out. And then we just recently, this evening, approved Irish Drive and Tower Terrace. That way we can get that hardware here, as there's a lead time on that. So it's a fairly significant project. And that last segment that we need to connect 6th Avenue.
Okay. Any questions, comments? I do have one question related to this, Mike, and I was thinking yesterday about the traffic signals at 22nd Street. I can certainly understand having those ready. Are we planning on, when this is all completed, turning those on? I mean, I'm not expecting a lot of, since that's a T intersection at 22nd Street, you're going into 6th. I'm not looking at a lot of traffic coming off of 22nd. So are we going to just have them sit there? Are we going to plan on turning those on?
We're actually going to turn those on. With the development just east of 22nd, there might be more traffic there than you expect. And then with pushing that traffic from 7th to 6th, with that project starting up, there's going to be a lot more traffic on 6th Avenue.
Okay, well, I was thinking about that question when we talked about traffic signals at that intersection. Kind of came to mind yesterday. Any other comments? If not, we've got a motion and a second for resolution number 28490. All those in favor of approving resolution 28490, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Resolution 28490 is approved, and I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
And please note that I abstain.
And Nick, yes. With that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 28491, approving the Peterson's Properties Addition Final Plat, Lynn County, and memorandum of agreement located west of 10th Street and north of Shamrock Woods Street. This is from Peterson's Properties and Rentals, LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28491, approving the Peterson's Properties Addition Final Plat and memorandum of agreement located west of 10th Street and north of Shamrock Woods Street. Discussion? Is this actually in the city? It's in the county.
No, it's actually in the county.
All right. Okay, no discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 28491, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have another public forum. This is a time set aside for members of the public to address the council as to any item that was not on the agenda, any item at all. So again, the public has the opportunity to send their comments in through the email feature, and we'll provide a little bit of time here for people to do that while we ask the city clerk if she's received anything prior to the meeting to be presented to the council in this forum.
I have not received anything.
Okay. We'll just wait just a little bit in case someone is sending a comment.
Should consider the Jeopardy theme song or something if this is going to go on for months.
I just want to be sure that we're being fair and allowing people time to do that, but that's a good point. Okay, I'm assuming we didn't receive anything.
We have not.
Okay, we will then proceed to council comments. We'll start with Councilmember Gadela.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple quick things. I'm sure everybody feels the same way. Great pool of candidates tonight, so that was exciting for the city to have such a draw, and congratulations to Grant, who's newly installed. Also want to congratulate all the graduates who are having to deal with this graduation under these circumstances, but it's really neat to see the creativity that has come up for people to celebrate. And I would just urge people to find, if you podcast at all, iHeartRadio just released a series of commencement speeches. They're between 4 and 20 minutes from Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates, Eli Manning, Khalid, you name it, all across the spectrum. So there's a lot of encouraging words that they can hear since they might not have those traditional speeches. And just want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday weekend. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Brandt.
I'd also like to thank all the candidates. That was not an easy decision, I'll say that. And then congratulations, Mr. Harper. And I was also going to wish everyone a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you.
I'll echo, right, it was really cool to see all the candidates, and it takes a lot of courage to go through that process. So kudos to everybody. Super excited to have Grant join the team. So he'll be down on my end at some point in time whenever we get to all sit next to each other, right? Glad to be back in the chambers, although we separated. It does feel a little better than sitting in my office at home and looking at all of you in these little square boxes. So appreciate the ability to be back together. Just a shout out to Rachel. I've leaned on her recently for a few things, and she's been very helpful. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, so very responsive. So thank you, Rachel, for your assistance. And then, of course, you all know that I'm a huge baseball fan, so I'm pretty excited to hear that beginning June 1, right, there's going to be some baseball and softball happening. I don't know what that looks like yet, but rest assured, I will be back in July with a suntan because I've been out watching baseball. So
Councilmember Sternad.
I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but I as well would like to thank all the candidates. I've been in that position before, and I know what that's like. It's exciting to know that our city and our community has such great leaders that want to step up at the time of calling to serve in all capacities, whether it's council or all of our volunteer organizations. There's a great many of vacancies that are looking for occupancies as well too. So please encourage individuals to continue to keep seeking to fill those roles. Mr. Harper, congratulations. You are now Councilman Harper. So the journey was long, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we went through that struggle. That was an unprecedented process to just keep putting it to the back burner. So we appreciate all of the applicants' diligence and staying with it. It's exciting as we see people. We will probably never mark another historical time in our lifetime of when we notice haircuts. You can tell the beauty salons and barbershops have opened up. Everybody pops up in the Zoom meetings, and I continue to remain the same. So I've been very blessed and fortunate. My wife is very talented, but I didn't skip a beat. So as she will as well, went to her beautician today as well too. So it's exciting to see, and it is not without being cautious to see our businesses open up. It's exciting. You can see personalities changing. You can see moods changing. You can see the swing and starting to see a little bit of skip and people step again. So it's very exciting. I encourage everyone, please be cautious. I like to change the verbiage of our social distancing to physical distancing. It never was about social distancing. It was about physical distancing. So please be cautious of that. Please support all of the businesses and opportunities that we can. It's I run my own business. We are a very small business, and so we appreciate that local business. And these are the times when these things will come back tenfold to people. I'm a big believer in giving forward and moving forward. So these are all critical times. So kudos to all of our business owners in the local community that have really pushed through this process. And we're very excited to start to see some lights come back on in these buildings and these doors, opening them up to the general public. So with that, thank you, Your Honor. And again, congratulations.
Yeah, I am obviously very excited to be back to a full force of 7. And I know Grant will do a great job on the city council and be a good asset with his background. And I know he's not going to be bashful. So looking forward to that. Also, I love being in the chambers instead of sitting at my desk in my basement. That's not very exciting. I think another thing we all need to think about as we look and drive around Marion, there are still a lot of projects going on. There's a lot of building going on, not only on the commercial side. Some are in the middle of their projects. Some are just breaking ground in the last month, and a few more to break ground in the next month or two. And the number of building permits that have been issued over the last couple months are still very high. So I think that's an indication still people are not sitting on the sidelines, but obviously there's going to be a lot of people continue to be very cautious. As I know things are opening up, I'm a heck of a lot more anxious to get out there and do things than my wife is. So we kind of balance each other out, and I'm ready to go, and I've done some things that maybe she wouldn't. But that's me. My personality is going to be a little bit different. And I think that's got a reflection upon a lot of people in our town. So I think we need to balance that out. I think the businesses will help balance that out based upon when they also feel comfortable to open up. So anyway, great to be back here. Great to have Grant on board.
Grant, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. First off, I want to express my gratitude to the council. I feel very good about joining this group, and I really want to work to continue on with the spirit of Paul Draper to benefit the city and to look for the right solutions to the tough problems that we will undoubtedly face. I agree with the comments about kind of the vibrant activity that seems to be coming forth in the city. And as we lift out of the sequestration period of this pandemic, but I also encourage everybody to be exceptionally careful. And I like that phrase, physical distancing. That works quite well. But I will do my best on behalf of the city, and I am absolutely open to friendly advice and commentary as we go through the various activities that we will. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Okay, so I will add my congratulations to Grant. It's, welcome aboard. Welcome to the team. I think you have a lot to add and to contribute to our city's forward progress. We look forward to working with you. I think you'll find that everybody is easy to work with. We don't all agree on every decision, which is fine. That everyone has good intentions for the city's well-being and the city's progress. And to me, that means everything. And that people, we don't have people with personal agendas. People on this team are all working in the same direction and the same general direction for the well-being of the city and its prosperity. So I really appreciate it. And I hope that over time you'll learn to appreciate it too. And we're here to help you adjust and get over the learning curve. So you can lean on any of us with any questions. The staff is tremendous. They're very open and very helpful. I just can't say enough about the team that you're joining, and look forward to working with you. As far as the city and businesses reopening, I do encourage everyone to be part of the solutions, be part of the process, support businesses, support each other as much as we can. I have no doubt that our city is going to pull through this stronger. We went into this crisis with unprecedented momentum as a city. And so I see this as a pause, but we hopefully will reignite that momentum. As Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, there's still a lot of great progress, good projects happening. We've activated our task force that the council has endorsed, and that task force has already been at work. It's got very qualified people on it. We've already had a few meetings, and a guide for businesses has been put out. A citizen survey has been put out to gauge people's readiness to go back into the businesses, and the purpose of it is to help the businesses be able to adjust their service delivery to match what people are expecting or how ready they are. And so we're already working. If people see a need in the community, whether it's human services or businesses or whatever it is, I urge you to direct that to me or anyone on the task force so that we can help to address that need. We want to make sure that people and businesses come through this as successfully as possible. And while just a request to everyone, including all the residents of Marion, is that through this process, this is uncharted territory. It's a difficult time. It's an emotional time for a lot of people. No one has a monopoly on all the answers and all the right ideas. And there's a lot of ideas out there and varying ideas on what will work, what won't work, what we should be doing, whether we should be opening facilities or whether we should keep them closed. There's so many opinions, and everyone has their sources of experts and data. And the one thing that we just need to keep in mind is that no one has a monopoly on all the ideas, and that, we all need to work together. And in doing so, please remember that in our thoughts, our words, our actions, to put kindness above everything else, kindness and patience and understanding. And with that, we will be able to show the world who we are as a community and come through this together successfully. So thank you again for joining us this evening, and we will see you all next time. The meeting is adjourned.